There we go. We are live. Hello. How y'all doing? I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think this will be a hopefully really valuable one for you. And it's going to be quite, I think, more on the strategy side, but I think there will be some interesting, maybe mindset and some perspective that I've gone through that I hope will be valuable for you as well. We're going to dive into the simple strategy that grew my audience by 142% this year. And then it's also supported me scaling my revenue by 22% this year without really adding on a lot of extra work. And it's actually helped us to increase our profit margins as well, which I did not expect. So let's dive into it. As always, I think we did a giveaway today. Did we do a giveaway? I'm just looking at my own notes. I write these far in advance. We did not do a giveaway, but since I mentioned that, we're doing a giveaway. I'm implementing a giveaway. If you're live with me here, especially in the summer, I know it's so much harder to show up for these live, and I love getting to have these conversations with you and have the back and forth and to hear your questions. So if you're live now or anytime on the replay, just drop me a note. Let me know you're here, and we will pick one person to win one of my done for you self-study programs. We've got a couple there, including my 6-week sales course. I've got one on your money or your money blueprint. Got one on sales calls. So just drop a hello and you will get entered, or we'll pick one person to win that. So let's dive into this. So yes, my email list grew by 142%. I ran the numbers. I'm sure you've probably been hearing me talk because last week we did a live stream and I shared that my revenue has gone up 22% this year from last, and not necessarily what this conversation. Hey, Alyssa, nice to have you here. Excited for this conversation too. I think one of the reasons I want to share about my revenue going up this year is not just to like pat myself on the back, but is really, I have an all one-on-one model, and I think there's such a narrative in our space right now and a lot of fear mongering that the industry is down, businesses are going out of business, all the challenges there. And I do think let's not gaslight anyone, I do think there are some realities to that. I think it is more saturated than ever. There's definitely I think some businesses are having a lot more challenges. I think customer journeys are longer. We've talked about all of this, but just to kind of recap here to some context, I think, customer journeys are a lot longer. I think it's more saturated. I do think some businesses have more challenge. I do think we're going to see more people exit the space over the next couple of years, but I think it's helpful to say, not because I think business is struggling. I just think we are in an industry with very little barrier to entry. And so it also means a lot of people, when they see this as a way to potentially, I think, make quick money is the mindset, a lot more people will enter the industry. This happened when I was acting as well. And then you see the reality of it. And so I think we'll see people leaving the industry more than we have before and closing businesses, not because business isn't working or businesses aren't scaling, but because a lot of people came in to test the waters or looking for quick overnight money, or kind of came into it, not for the wrong reasons, but kind of for the wrong reasons, and they will leave. And so I just want to name that. And that's one of the reasons I like talking about things like I have a very steady business. We've been in business for 9+ years. My revenue has increased. My email list is increasing, just to give some evidence that it's not like all dire out there. And with that, I think it's also important to know, I put this in the email for this, I think so often we hear big results and we think it's like one thing that someone changed, or it's kind of a fluke. My coach Lacey Seitz says what did she say? No one surprises themselves successful, or no one becomes successful by accident. And so I think what we're going to talk about today, what I do want to talk about, is my email list growing by 142% is not an accident at all. It was quite intentional. My revenue increasing by 22%. While there's some, because I have a revenue sharing model, some of that is out of my control. There's a lot I have done very, very intentionally behind the scenes. I saw the shift in just marketing, I think, before it really started happening. I talked about this, I want to say 2 years ago, when I started changing my messaging and how I was doing content, and we started shifting over to Instagram. And we've made some very, very intentional shifts. And so I want you to see how both things can be true. Revenue can go up, business is fine. And no matter what is going on in the industry, no matter whether it's saturated or not, it could be not saturated, and it could be 2020, and we still need to be intentional. And I think there's still intentional strategies that go into play. And with the audience growth piece here, I think, and I know I'm teasing this out quite a bit, but I just want to give a lot of context before I dive into the actual strategy, which I promise I will share all of that. I like to give you as much behind the scenes as I can. I think what's helpful to hear as well is, I know I definitely talk about the size of your audience not being everything. I grew my business to 1.495 million lifetime cash I can't remember if that was 4.5 years, 5 years, whatever, however many years that was in, with about, I think it was exactly 857 people on my list or something like that. So under 900 people on my email list. I made my first six figures. I think I had about 300 people on my list. I have clients who have scaled to high multi six figures with, audiences of 300 to 500. I have a client who scaled from zero basically to 1 million. We worked together. And I believe their audience is still at around 300 or 400 people. And so I share that because I think it's important for us to remember audience size, email list growth. I think in our space, especially with algorithm changes, it can get a little like we can lose the forest for the trees. I was just talking about this with an intensive client where the thought is all I need to do is focus on my email list. Like if you don't have an email list, you don't have anything that you own, your audience size, like grow that thing at any cost, no matter what. And there's so much nuance in that conversation. I have clients who have grown six-figure businesses without an email list, which I think is important to say. And so yes, there is something beneficial to having an asset to owning your content, but let's be honest, with an email list, you still have to fight deliverability, and most of your stuff ends up in the promotions folder. There's still a lot there. And growing your email list at any cost is not the answer for everyone. The intensive client I was speaking to, what we were talking about is her current goal is really getting conversions with the people in front of her. And it's a different strategy to grow your list than it is for conversions. And I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but I do want to give just a little context there, because as we go through this, I don't want to add to the confusion online that just tells you need to grow your email list by 142%, and that's why my revenue grew by 22%. It is one part of multiple things in my business that have supported me. And I also think it's important to say, because I do talk about clients who have smaller audiences and get big numbers, the truth is, no matter what the size of your audience, we kind of always want to be getting new traffic, new people coming into our world. And there is a point where more of the right people does generally equal more sales. Like if we just look at what normal conversion rates are, especially if you have an offer that is serving one-to-many, but even with a one-to-one model, if you have my clients who have one-to-one models, we just need fewer people. But I have clients who have memberships, courses, larger group programs. There really just is a point where the math has to math there, and we don't want to expect ourselves to have. I remember talking about this with another client who's launching. I was like, not that you can't be a unicorn and have a 50% conversion rate, but it would require her to have a 50% conversion rate to reach her goals, which is pretty much unheard of, since most conversion rates are between 1% to 3%. I have some clients converting at 5% to 10%, and their launch is a couple like 11 to 12, right? So then we have to have the math, which sometimes looks like having more traffic come through the door. And I know for myself and for many of my clients, and again, I promise I'm going to get to the point here, but I just feel like all of this is important context, because again, otherwise I'm going to share a strategy and then everybody goes and thinks that's the thing they need to do. And I want to talk about who this is right for, who this is not right for, and just give a lot of context so you can understand that. That's whether you are my client or not. And that's always what I want to help, because there is no one size fits all here, but there is a lot of context. I just lost my train of thought. There's something important there I was going to say. What was I just going to say? Well, it'll come back to me. I feel like there was an important thing there that I wanted to share about launching, about numbers. I think just overall, I was going to say that the math has to math, and it's something. I know what I was saying. I think this is actually important context. So I think just overall, I share this with clients all the time. I think what's just to remember is we really want to have a holistic marketing strategy, and a holistic marketing strategy means we have a traffic source, we have a way to get leads, right, and to start new relationships. We have a way to nurture those relationships and warm up the people in front of us, and then we have some sort of conversion tool, which is essentially sales, right, a way to sell. What I find for most people who I work with, and if you are here, I'm guessing you are heart-centered, you care about service, you care about your work, right, you're a big bleeding heart. Most of those people, and this is me as well, we tend to be very heavy in our marketing funnel on the nurture aspect of things, and we often tend to be lopsided on the traffic focus or on the conversion side. And we really need all, and at different times in our business we have to focus on different levers, right? Our businesses need different things. If you have enough traffic in front of you and you're not converting, right, you probably need more of the nurture or the conversion. If you have traffic and you're nurturing the heck out of them, you probably need more of the conversion sales. And so I think that's just important to remember. And so what we're talking about here today is something I really noticed about the point when I was making 1.59 million, or I had crossed that, and the industry changing, is I was really, really nurture heavy. I was really great on the conversion sides. We have a, what is it? It's like, I did the math on this once, a 93.2% sales conversion rate on our sales calls. Right, all of that is fine. And I have an audience, right? But I hadn't focused a lot on email list growth. Our audience in this group has grown, but I shifted to Instagram. All of that was growing, but my biggest opportunity was traffic. And so I share all of this because that was the right thing for me to focus on, which is why growing my email list and focusing on this did support my revenue growth. If that wasn't the right thing for me to focus on, I could have double, triple, quadrupled my email list, and it would not have increased my revenue. Hopefully that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, let me know. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the one thing I shifted, the strategy around that. We're going to dive into why I had so much resistance around this, because I had a fuck ton of resistance, and it's actually now one of my favorite things that I'm supporting quite a lot of clients on, and how it has streamlined my workload and my profit margins, believe it or not. I'm going to talk about how to know if the strategy is right for you to implement or not, or if it's something you want to back burner, because I don't think it's necessarily for everyone, what you need to have in place to really get the best results from this, and I'll just share a couple of client examples that I've been walking through this. So in case you couldn't guess, I wonder if you could guess what this is already, but in case you can't guess, and I should probably pull up my notes because otherwise I will go off on 1,000 tangents here. But the strategy I started implementing was ads. And the reason I'm teasing this out is because whether you're going to run ads or not, I think this is a really valuable conversation just in terms of what grows your audience and what increases sales. So if you've hung with me this long, whether it's now or on the replay, and you're like, I'm not going to run ads, Kim, hang with me, because I do think this will be a very just valuable conversation in terms of how to think about business and how to maximize your results and your growth overall. But what I started implementing, I think it was about this month or next month of last year. No, I think it was this month, because I looked at literally to whenever I wrote this email to that day, what our email list growth was. It was 142%. So that must have been when I started implementing ads. We have seen that growth, and I would say the majority of the reason for that growth, yes, I've always had great organic marketing. That's how we've taken this business to the level we have. But that massive email list growth, because we over doubled. We grew that exponentially. And in a year, that is all thanks to ads. And so first, I just want to demystify that, because when we hear big numbers from people, when you hear someone having a 100K launch, some people do that organically. A lot of times, there are things like ads and a big ad spend behind that. And I think when you don't know that, or you don't realize that, and you're looking at, well, I don't know, I'm doing the same thing. How come they have a gazillion people in their audience and I don't? How come they're getting so much more in revenue and I'm not? While there are multiple factors, sometimes that's part of it. And so I think it's just helpful to name that. And what I will share, and then we'll talk more into like what you need, how to know if ads are right for you or not, and if it makes sense. What I think is maybe just helpful for me to normalize, I had so much resistance and so much ego around implementing ads. So when I started thinking about this it would have been at the start of last year, because I took a course on ads, which I will share my affiliate link. I never share affiliate links, but I actually went through this program, and we have such a stupid low cost per lead on my ads, which I think is also due to the fact that I have very good messaging and very good positioning, and I know how to write copy and all of that. So I don't think it's just this course just to give context there, but I do think they do a really great job of walking you through the tech setup and how to test and run ads. And I have an affiliate link, so just full disclaimer there, because I don't know if I ever shared an affiliate thing, but if you use my link, if you're interested in ads, if you use my link, it gives you some bonus one-on-one sessions. And I think it's a really affordable program. I think it's really solid. It's really helped me to master ads, but the bonus one-on-one sessions are, I care less about getting an affiliate fee because it's pretty negligible for me, but I think it gives you like 2 bonus one-on-one sessions. So I'll drop that at the end here for anybody who's interested in ads. But I do want to just normalize, I had so much shit around bringing ads into my business, and I feel like it's just important to name. I was really proud of building this business all organically, and I think I had this like story that ads were cheating, and that it meant my organic marketing wasn't working as well. I thought it was, I just had a lot of stories around that. And I think I also thought that if I got down the ad rabbit hole, they were going to be super expensive. It was going to cut a ton into my profit margin, that they were only for people who ran big programs. And so I share that just in case that's coming up for anyone. I thought they were going to be really complicated, really hard, and while there is definitely a learning curve to them, I don't think they're. I think there is a learning curve and a testing. You have to be willing to test them. They've been, I think, far simpler in my mind. We run our own ads. I don't run them through an agency or anything like that, and we literally spend less now in marketing than we did when I was not paying for ads, which I share because I think that is so counterintuitive, but I think we forget when we have all organic marketing. And look, I think just to give my past self some credit as well, when I had that resistance come up, we also didn't need ads for a long time. When I started implementing them, I saw some of the changes with the algorithm. I wanted more data in my business, and I also really want to future proof this business. And I believe having, just more my list and more people that I can, I guess, own my list or whatever we want to say there, but that I can connect with in a way that's off social media felt really important to me. So I had different goals. I guess we could say technically I didn't need them, but I don't know that that's really true because I think we always need new traffic, and I did see a slowdown in traffic organically. Anyway, point being here, I think what we forget sometimes, if you're someone who has a lot of resistance to implementing something like this, and we'll talk about, how to know if you need this or not, if it's right for you, but when we can sometimes have a little ego wrapped up in it like I did, I think we forget that organic marketing also costs us money. And I don't mean just time. I mean, organic does take time. And I think just to normalize, basically the difference between organic and paid traffic does not mean you're going to make more money. It just means your marketing is going to it's guaranteed to get in front of more eyeballs. And so if you're doing that organically, it's just generally a slower, longer path. And for some, usually when we're starting a business, we just don't have as much money to put into something. And so kind of putting the sweat equity, so to say, into that makes sense. But it does just protract the timeline unless you're, really great at going viral or something like that. And it's bringing in a lot of audience members. But even that takes some time to really learn how to master that and to have that work for you. I think just remembering either one of these strategies takes sweat equity, and organic generally takes longer, and so that's fine. But if you're at a place in business where you have the resources and you want to either speed up your growth or speed up your data collection, right, ads can really, really make sense. But I think the other thing we forget is, for at least the stage of business I was at, I have team, and so it's not just, and my time is worth money. I was making not multi six figures, but we were making, I don't know what, $350K per year or something at that time when we implemented ads. My time is valuable. And so the more time I pour into something, obviously that is taking away time from, literally I run a one-on-one model, like from that I can like open up a spot for a client or serve my clients. But I also pay my team. So any of my organic marketing, while I think it's free because I'm not paying for ads, it actually costs us money. And so, I've talked about this with the podcast. When I run my podcast is by no means free. What we were doing before we ran ads is I was posting in other Facebook groups. I have other clients, who are paying for SEO or different things like that. All of those things still cost us money. And so I share that because I think sometimes we just need a reframe or a reminder if we're thinking about implementing a strategy like ads. We're paying for organic or paid, we're paying both in time and usually in resources. And so I think that's just important to remember. And so what I found running ads is not only does it massively speed up the growth, it's, my email list it had grown, but I don't know what percentage it had grown the year before, but I want to say negligibly. It definitely continued to grow, but not 142%. And I've seen this with multiple clients that I've been supporting to run ads really successfully. I have another client who just grew their list by 150% and is really setting themselves up for a great launch. I have quite a few clients where ads, we've gotten their cost per lead really low, and it's really supported their bringing in clients and revenue. And what I found for us is it actually costs us less in terms of team spend and time to run ads than it did when we were marketing organically, because I was paying team to post in Facebook groups and to have my content in different places. And it is actually more cost efficient. We don't have a one-on-one model. I'm fully booked, so this is like some new context and nuance there. If I had a course model or a big launch coming up, that might not be the case because we would probably have a much bigger ad spend. I have a very low ad spend. We spend a very negligible amount just to keep my list growing, and then we might put a little bit more in when I have have a live masterclass come up. So just for context there, because I think otherwise, I don't want everyone to hear this and think everybody's profit margin will go down. In some cases, especially if you have more like a course model, it will probably cut into your profit margin. But I share that just from the mindset perspective because I think there's just gonna be a lot of misconceptions, a lot of fears, a lot of ego, and I have just like that's part of growth, right? Being willing to be wrong or to think differently about things. I have just found. Alyssa says I knew. Yeah, you're so right, Alyssa. I had a feeling you would guess and know this. So just to demystify that or just to name some of that if that comes up for you, but also just to walk you through what I've really seen to be true. The other, I think one of the other fears I had after I went through the program and was getting ready to test, I think I really just had some fear around like burning money and throwing some money away. And so just to speak to that, and then I'll talk about how to know if ads are right for you and what you need to be able to optimize those or to really get them to work for you. What I found is a couple of things. One, I think just to normalize if you are thinking about ads, you do need to budget for testing. Our ads work again, like I was telling a client yesterday, I'm like, I almost wish I had told her what our cost per lead were because I almost don't, it's so stupid low. I'm just like, I'm not going to touch anything. This isn't normal. I don't expect it to stay this way forever, but they've been way under industry averages pretty much since we've optimized them. They're just stupid low right now. But for that to happen, I did invest some money to test. And my first couple of rounds of testing, it wasn't horrible, but it definitely is not anywhere close to what it was now. And so I think it's just like anything. It's not a magic pill. It's not a secret strategy. It's not like, again, it's not like if you throw money at ads, it's going to guarantee you make money on the back end. What I had to remember is I will spend some money to test, to learn this and to test the same way I have spent money to invest in coaching and support and team and to learn about how to message and market on Instagram and bought courses there, right? The same way I've invested in anything, it's going to be the same here. And so for that fear, I think just to normalize, yes, it will cost you money. And yes, you probably will not burn through, but you probably will need to budget for some testing and probably spend a little bit more at the upfront and know that you will probably have some things that you're testing that you're paying to test that will bring you leads, but that probably aren't like the best performing thing ever. But that is the case for anything we do in business. I think we forget, again, we're paying, it's either our time and our sweat equity, or we're paying a coach or a course or a team member. It just looks different with ads because I think it feels different because you can kind of see that. The other thing that really helped my fear, because I think I sort of had this fear that it was going to like get away from me, and I think which is helpful to remind everybody is you have complete control over ads. You can turn them off at any time. You can set the budget. So unless you're handing this over to an agency and just kind of giving them like unlimited spending, I think one or two of my clients use an agency because they have big like bigger group programs. It just makes sense for them. I think if you're spending at a certain level of ads, it does actually make sense to hire someone. I think if you're spending less than a certain amount, they're pretty simple to manage and to maintain, and it doesn't always make sense to have an agency for that unless it's just such a time constraint thing there. But where was I going with this? My brain today is like, I'm like too many things I want to share here. Let me grab a sip of my coffee. I don't remember what I was saying. What was I saying about that? This doesn't usually happen to me, y'all. I think this is perimenopause brain. This is a TMI for y'all, but I really think that's a thing. Anyway, or maybe it's just the noises outside. What was I going to share about that? That'll come back to me as well. Wow, I think I've been doing these live streams, y'all, I'm also in a phase where I'm like, I just want to name things for people because I think people see other business owners and think it's different for them. But I've been going live for like consistently for 7-8 years. I don't think I've ever lost my train of thought. Maybe I have once, but twice in a live stream. I also just want to, I want to name that, and I also want to name what not a big deal that is, because I know that is a huge fear for so many of my clients and for so many people about doing master classes or lives or anything like that. Like, it's literally not a big deal. I'm pretty sure none of you are mad at me for that. that's what we were talking about. So look, me naming that also helped me remember what we were talking about. We were just talking about some of the fears coming up around the spending. So I think just remembering you're going to invest and spend either way, and that you do have control with this. And I think we forget that. And so unless you're, working with an agency where maybe they have more control, when you set up your ads, if you decide to run ads, if that's a fear, you can spend as little or as much as you want. You can spend $5 a day. I think that was the other thing in my head. I really thought I was going to spend like $100 a day or thousands and thousands of dollars. You can spend $5 a day and get results. You can spend $10 a day. So you can, yes, that adds up to $5 a day. I can't do the math. It's probably like what, $150 a month. $10 a day is about $300 a month. But if you're paying VAs to post for you, to schedule content for you, and I love me some virtual assistants, so this isn't knocking on virtual assistant support, but I would just remember you're investing for that visibility either way. And for most of us, this is a really beneficial place to pour some money into, but you can literally control that. So you don't have to spend anything more than you have a budget for. Outside of when I would, for everybody, just think, if I'm going to think about ads, you just do want a little bit to test, a little bit of a budget to test ads at the upfront. But then after that, to maintain that, right, that's really up to you. So I share that because that was definitely one of my fears. My fears was sort of like, this is going to get out of control. And I had to remind myself, that's really cute, brain. And we know that has a lot more to do with things that have nothing to do with business, but this is something that, you have more than enough budget here for this. And if at any time it gets out of control, I can unplug from it. The other thing here that I will just also because I think there's such a always mindset component. I think one of the other fears that I see for a lot of my clients is almost becoming too reliant on ads. And what I would really offer, the way I coach my clients if they're implementing ads and I'm supporting with them to think about this, is we never want to give our power away to anything in business. I never want to be so reliant on something that I feel like if it went away, I couldn't figure out what to do. So I'll use this Facebook group for an example, because people talk about how Facebook groups are dead. I don't think they are. This is still, I think, our number one traffic source aside from ads, even though I've been focused on Instagram. Instagram is second. So just to normalize that, or just to name that for people as well. But if Facebook groups died and my group died, or Facebook went away tomorrow, it would be not fun for us, because that is our main, I've poured 7-8 years into this community and showing up every week on lives and content, all of that, that would definitely be a sunken cost. But I don't feel this is the only way I know how to grow my business. I fundamentally know how business works, and I fundamentally know how to make money in my business, and how the clients in my business is what I coach all of my clients to understand. And so if this went away, I would understand and know how to replicate this somewhere else. Yeah, it might take a second. It might not be fun. It might be a little bit of work. I'm not discounting all of that. But that means I don't have to feel this massive fear if Facebook's groups go away or get, stop or die or whatever the thing is. And I don't have to feel this massive fear of all of my power is being given to Facebook or the algorithm or whatever that is. So I think Facebook ads are very similar. I think there's this way in which we can give our power away to strategies or different things, and think if something's working, that's the only thing that's ever going to work for us, as opposed to understanding why that's working for us, and understanding what works for us in our business, and knowing if something goes away or stops working. That's pretty normal. If we're in business, if all of us plan on being in business for decades and not just 1 or 2 years, things are going to change. Platforms are going to change. Strategies are going to change. We have to be able to pivot and adapt with them, but that feels a lot easier when we're not outsourcing all of our power to them. We fundamentally understand how that's working for us and what to replace it with. Hopefully this is making sense for y'all. And so with that, I think similarly with ads, I think we can feel very much like, oh my gosh, and we become so reliant on this. And what I would just offer is if you can understand what's working for you with ads, and ads shift or change, or the ad cost goes up so much, that's also going to help you understand, right, what you could do elsewhere if you really needed to. And the other thing I would say with ads in particular is I'm a really big fan of not putting all of your eggs in the ad basket. And I think ads tend to work best when we have a really robust organic strategy, and use ads to blow that up, instead of I have no organic strategy and I'm using ads as my only mean for leads. I do have a couple of clients. I have one who comes to mind who leans on ads more, just to normalize. I don't think you have to have that organic strategy, but that is really specific to, no, and I don't even know that's true because she still has a really good organic strategy. She's just using it for one aspect of her business. But I do think there's a way in which you can, you can lean on ads more heavily if that's what works with your lifestyle and all of that. I would just say overall for most people, having that combination of both is what's going to make sense. So let's talk about how to know if ads are right for you. Actually, let's talk about what you need for, because I think that all goes together, kind of what you need to have ads work for you and how to know if they're right for you. And let me know if you have questions on any of this, because I feel like I'm trying to give a lot of nuance and context here, and sometimes that's helpful, and I think sometimes that can be overwhelming. So please let me know if this is helpful and if you have questions at all. Kind of picking up from this idea of organic and ads together as a strategy, and I think this will also help you to understand if this is something to consider adding in, stacking into your business. I think one of the reasons ads worked so well for, I shouldn't say worked because we're still using them, work so well for us. I think one of the reasons I have such a low cost per lead, I did the math, I think it's a 20 to 22x ROI on our ad spend, which is also like a stupid ROI on ads. I think one of the reasons for that is me and my team, but I have a very solid organic strategy. I have very clear messaging. I have very clear positioning. I have funnels that I have tested and I know work. I also know if I get traffic, I have something that I can then nurture, right? We talked about those three pieces of it, right? We have the traffic, we have the nurture, and then we have the conversion on the back end. I already had nurture conversion dialed in really well. So I know then if I just pour some traffic into it, that's just going to put more people through nurture conversion. If this is already working well and I have a 92.3% self-conversion rate, right? That's what's helping my ads give me that 20 to 22x ROI. It's not the ads. I mean, the ads are helping with that, but the ads, it's because they're bringing more people through this funnel that's already working really well and optimized, right? And so it's just more people, like that's just math, right? More people. In some ways, we could argue that the number could be even higher if I had more spots available, because I have obviously limited capacity with a one-on-one model, right? But we can, hopefully that math makes sense there. If my nurture conversion was, if I had a 20% conversion rate on sales calls, which I think is more industry norm, which is still great. Let's not knock that, but let's just say that's the case. And my nurture was kind of mediocre, and I had a harder time, getting those calls. I could spend 3 times as much on ads, right, to get maybe the same amount of sales, or I don't know what the math would be on that. 20 times as much on ads, right? I'd have to spend a lot more here to have a lot more traffic to get a return, and so it'd be a higher return. So it'd be a lower return on ad spend. And I think that's where ads get people really trippy, and where people can get overspending because you start solving the wrong problem in your business and your funnel. And if that feels at all confusing to you, that's literally why I have a job and what I support clients with. So that's my expertise. That's what I'm really, really great at, is helping clients spot that. Unless you're a business coach and really great at spotting that in your own business, which is hard for all of us to spot the spinach in our own teeth, just to normalize, that's not something everybody I think is expected to know. But that's where things get a little wonky. And so I think that's why our ads have worked so well for us, and not only helped to grow our list exponentially, but also helped to grow our ROI. And so what I think is helpful with that to remember is this is why the organic plus ads versus just ads on their own can be really beneficial, because the better you get at organic, not only the better are you going to get at ads and know what's going to work for an ad in the first place, right? My ads, I think one of the reasons we have a low cost per lead is I know what converts organically, let's say in a reel. So I can then, I have a couple of things I can test, because I've already been testing it organically, like basically for free in air quotes, right? So it makes it easier with my ad set. But that's also because I have this optimized funnel essentially, it makes sense. So then I can just pour more rocket fuel on it. And so what I always think with clients is, how to know if ads are right for you or not, because I don't think they're for everyone. Or at every stage. I think a couple of things to be thinking about is, do I already have a clear offer, clear messaging, clear positioning, a funnel, and do I already have organic marketing that works, right? Do I know when I bring people through this customer journey, right? Let's say we have all those things, we've built a funnel. Do I know when I bring people through this, it's converting? Alyssa says soaking it all up. I'm so glad. that it's converting. And remember, when I say I have a 92.3% sales call conversion rate, that does not mean my funnel has a 92.3% conversion rate. That means the people who book a call with me, right? I don't actually know the numbers because I haven't worked those out, but industry norms are 1 to 3%. I have clients converting at 5 to 10 to 11%. I would really be looking at, are my funnels converting at 1 to 3%, something like that. If it's more, definitely ads will be beneficial to you. But if it's, in that 1 to 3%, that's already great. And so I think sometimes just knowing those numbers can be helpful, because otherwise we're looking at things a little, we're almost sabotaging ourselves there. But I think we want to have those things in place. And then similarly, just knowing, because again, ads is just going to bring more traffic to you. It's not going to make the rest of your business work, the rest of your funnel work. So for example, if your landing page isn't converting, if people aren't opening your emails, if people aren't booking the calls, and I should also say, I don't know many people who use ads to a masterclass funnel for one-on-one, but I also don't know many people who have an all one-on-one business model this long into business. So there's context there. I think for most people with ads, we're generally selling something else. But even if it's into masterclass to calls like me, or if you're using ads right into calls, I think just remembering, the more you have that working organically, the more ads are going to make sense for you. The caveat I would say there, you need all of those things in place, right? You need to have your offer and your messaging, your positioning back in place. But if you haven't tested that and don't have that optimized yet, remember what we were talking about earlier in the conversation. What I tell clients, and I think I learned this actually, I'm going to share the link for the Successful Ads Club because I've got those bonus calls for you. But one of the things they teach in there, and I think it's just helpful, I teach my clients this as well, you want at least 100 people to go through a funnel before you can really know if it's working or not. And so the other argument for ads, if you don't have a funnel that's had 100 people go through it, that's optimized, is to remember doing that organically. If you're getting, I'm just making this up, let's say you're getting 10 leads per month, that means it's going to take you 10 months to test a funnel to see if it's even optimized and working, to be able to make those tweaks and adjustments. And so if you have the budget, the other argument with ads, and I think this is actually something, I guess we didn't need it in my business because we were full, but this is something I just wish I had thought about more, just from a testing perspective, because I have found you can run ads and it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. Just remember that ads can also speed up your testing process. So if you I don't want to wait 10 months to see if this funnel is working, you can implement ads to get those 100 people going through your funnel, to get that data, quicker and sooner. What I would just offer, and again, I might be getting a little too nuanced and a little too weedy here, but just ways to think about this. What I would just remember, if you do that, is you are paying to test something. So you can't be mad at yourself if you don't get the ROI on the back end, because the ROI in that case for you is the data and the information to optimize that funnel. Getting an ROI in sales is like a happy bonus because it's working better than you knew. But I would just always level set expectations if that's the case. But I would just remember, so how to know if you should use ads or not, generally speaking, we want to at least have a clear offer messaging, a way to bring some sort of funnel to bring people through. If you're looking at, I want to optimize my ad spend, we want to know that your funnel is optimized, it's already converting, so that when you bring more traffic in, you can know that is that's going to convert for you. Otherwise, you're testing a lot of things, right? Is it the ads? Is it my offer? Is it my messaging, right? We want to know all of this back end work, so I'm just pouring more traffic in through it. And so if I'm not getting more traffic, then I'm just working on the ads and testing there. And with that, if that's the case, I would just also offer a reminder, and they talk about all of this in the course, but we generally just want to have a high ticket offer, or a high enough ticket offer that makes sense that if you're spending money on ads, you're still going to be profitable, right? One of the reasons ads are so profitable for me with 101 is I have quite a high ticket offer. So I only have a couple of spots open at one time, but I only sell a couple of spots to, 20x my ad spend. Right? I don't need a ton of people coming through the funnel, and I don't need a ton of people to buy to make that back. So you just want to make sure kind of those pieces are in place. I highly recommend going through the course I'll share if you want more nuance there, or you have some of these things and they're not tested, and you really want to pay to get people going through that funnel. It is going to be a little bit more challenging. Generally speaking, I would say when that's the case, it's helpful if you have some organic marketing that you know is at least working for you. But then knowing the other reason I might run ads is I'm running ads to speed up my growth and really to speed up my data collection so that I can refine this funnel. Either way, you're always going to be testing, you're always going to be refining. I tell this with clients all the time. I think we just think everything's a one and a done. The people who are getting really great conversions, right? One of the reasons I have such great conversion rates on our ads and funnels is I have tested and iterated and iterated and iterated and iterated and iterated, right? And refined. And it's not like I'm burning. I don't want to make that sound like it's a ton of work, but it is work, and it is, like, I think that is important. We don't just set and forget that and leave it alone. At this point we do because they're so good I don't want to mess with them. But there's been a lot of testing and iteration through that. Okay, I think that makes sense in just what you want to think about and how to know if it's best for you or not, and just the different ways to think about and kind of level set expectations. What I would say is if you're still trying to figure out your offer, if you're still trying to figure out if the kind of like the product fit, like the product market fit for your offer and validate it, if you don't have clear messaging or a sales process that like has worked at all, I would say that's usually the place where, I mean, not to like say hire me, but hire me, right? I would book a strategy intensive with me so that we can go through that first. You really want those things first, because what doesn't make sense for either of the reasons we talked about running ads, right? For either because the first reason this doesn't apply, but even just to collect data, it doesn't really make sense to pay for, I always use the example of, let's just say you threw out a bunch of party flyers and invites and you just like canvassed your city and like threw out like tens of thousands of invites to this party at a warehouse. And when people got to the warehouse, it was empty. As opposed to like, I don't know, it's set up as a rave and there's a DJ and there's decorations and a bar and all of the things. Maybe a wedding invitation is a better example here. I don't know if people even go to raves anymore. This is like really, I'm telling you, I've got perimenopause and like clearly I don't know what the kids do anymore, but you get my analogy here. It just doesn't make sense to send people to an empty warehouse or to give people, a bunch of people, cars, directions to like a road that goes nowhere. So if we don't have a product, if we're not really clear on our offer, if we're not really clear that this is what people really want and what they want to pay for, again, unless we just really want to test that, or we don't have a proven messaging sales process, you're just gonna end up paying for a lot of traffic to basically go to nowhere. So it's just helpful to at least have that in place. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think, again, ads can give you data really quickly to help you refine all of that, but I do think it's really helpful to have that in place first. Again, unless you just have money that you are really consciously willing to essentially burn through, but I wouldn't even say it's burning through, like that you're saying I am paying to test, like to speed up and collapse my timeline. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. If you have a question, let me know. I think those are all the pieces there. Did I want to share one other thing here? Let me just see my notes here. I think those are all of the things I want. This is the last thing I wanted to share. The last piece I will say in terms of, and I kind of alluded to this, but I would say the number one thing if you're thinking about running ads, yes, we talked about like it's helpful if you have already tested the organic strategy, you already have that funnel that works, but I would say the number one thing, and I feel like this sounds like I'm just saying this because this is something I preach a lot and teach a lot, but I preach and teach this because it literally makes a difference. And I think it makes an even bigger difference in 2025. And this is also true for your organic marketing, not just your ads. But the more dialed in your messaging and positioning is, and the more you know your audience and what their pain points are, what the results they want are, what they're really paying attention to, what grabs their attention, and the more that is dialed in, the better your organic marketing is going to work, and the better your organic marketing works, the less you need to spend on ads, right? So part of the reason we don't spend as much on ads, and it's increased my profit margin, so to say, is because our organic marketing also works really well for all of those reasons, right? We're just putting rocket fuel on that, or whatever you want to say. But vice versa, the reason ads work so well, one of the reasons I think our cost per lead is so low is all of that goes into the ads you're testing. And so I can use the same strategy. And again, I think the course I'll share, I think it's excellent. And I know part of the reason I have different results than other people have taken that course is our messaging and positioning is dialed in. I just know my people really, really well, and that's one of my strengths as a coach. It's one of the things I support clients with. We just did a masterclass, Words That Sell. Like, I'm excellent at messaging, positioning. I'm excellent at helping people pull out, who are their people, what are they thinking, what are they actually saying, and like, I don't want to say manipulating words, but like using your words in a way to position you and why people should buy from you. And that is what is going to make your ads blow up. And it's similarly, we have to think, if ads is traffic to a landing page is all copy, it's all your words that sell, it's all your messaging. So the more that is dialed in, the more ads will work for you. And I think this is just an ongoing iterative. I've used the word iterative so much in this live stream, but it's because it is business is an iterative process. And so I share that because I think it's just helpful. I hope this doesn't make it seem overwhelming, but I think it's just helpful to know what goes into making these kinds of decisions, but also to know what to focus on. Because sort of to what I was speaking to at the beginning of this conversation, it's just so easy in business to hear me or anyone talk about something and to just latch onto something without either understanding what goes into it or to start solving the wrong problems in our business. And I think it's really, I have one client who was talking about this, and she was convinced. She's like, my offer sucks, people hate my offer. And I was like, no, you haven't had enough people go through your offer. Nothing sucks, but what we need to look at are things like, do we have enough traffic coming, and is your messaging and positioning clear? Because if that's not clear, we're probably not getting enough people into the offer. I have another client where we're talking about this, and what they need is more nurture and more touch points, right? It has nothing to do with their messaging not working. It has nothing to do with their offer sucking. It's just they need more touch points. And so I say that because I think we just want to keep those things in mind. So you don't walk away from this conversation or any conversation you're listening to online and just like blindly jumping into a bunch of busy work. That said, your messaging and positioning and just continue. I mean, I continue to study this in I might do a live stream in a couple of weeks. I posted 2 carousels back to back, and one got 100 likes and a ton of comments, which is a lot for my audience. And the next one, I mean, it died. And I looked back and like, oh, I can see exactly why and the difference. I was like, not that I know better, but sometimes you revert to 2020 content writing. It wasn't a bad piece of content, but I can see exactly why. And a lot of it had to do with my positioning, not the actual content. But it was just such a helpful thing to see back to back. It wasn't the algorithm, right? It's so easy to blame things on the algorithm. It wasn't because it's 2025. I had 2 carousels back to back that performed drastically different. So that's within a couple of days of one another. It was literally down to my positioning. I think the other one, I want to say it has like 6 or 7 likes. So like, just to give context there, one has like 30 comments, and this one has, the only comments are from people who are trying to sell me something. Positioning matters. And so going back to the strategy, I would say there are a lot of different pieces we want to have in place, right? That's why I keep talking about a holistic marketing strategy. But I think that positioning and messaging, if there was anything I was going to focus on, if I was thinking about ads, that would be the piece I would play with the most, because that's going to be what really helps you maximize your ad spend if you start playing with that. Okay, hopefully that is helpful. Oh, I did have one other thing I was going to say. The last thing I will say on this is, what I found from ads, since I had so much resistance, so much fear around all of that, is that, permission to be wrong, permission to change your mind, permission to stack things, right? We talk about picking and sticking. This is something my coach talks about in business, but you can also stack strategies once something is working. And I think something that I am forever learning new layers of as I scale my business. This is almost like a whole other live stream conversation, but I come from such a good work ethic, hard work, good girl conditioning, but also just I was talking this with my husband with training. Just my mentality is just work as hard as possible. And I actually love hard work. Like when I go to the gym, I just want to push myself to the extreme every single time. And it's really hard for my brain. The analogy with gym is you have to take rest days if you want to build muscle, and if you don't want to have too many cortisol spikes. It is really hard for my brain to compute. I don't understand why I wouldn't just push hard every day if I want to get stronger. But the way to get stronger is to lift heavy and then give yourself some rest. So similarly with scaling, I just feel like I learned this at every stage and level of business. Yes, there is something to having a work ethic. Yes, some things might feel hard, but growth and scalability doesn't come from just working and pushing harder and harder. It really is from, I talk about scaling smarter, not harder, right? Like that's not a fun tagline I came up with just for the fun of it. It really is, scaling is about scaling smarter, not harder. And I think ads are such a great example of that. Ads have allowed me to have not only, right, we literally have fewer expenses and it's increased our profit margin, but it also allows me to scale smarter, not harder, in that I don't have to work as hard. And it means I don't have to post as much content, to be quite frank, right? Because we haven't, like I still do because it's helpful to have those touch points, but we used to post a lot more and that was so much more important for us because we needed that for traffic. I actually can do a lot less in my business. It's freed up a lot of time and energy. You know, it's similar to when we delegate. And so I think that was probably a subconscious resistance for me because I think that's probably part of the reason it feels like cheating. And like, I don't understand. Like, I just like don't do anything and all this magical stuff happens. And of course, we talked about all the things I've done today in this conversation, right? There's a lot that goes into it, but once that it is implemented and set up, what's beautiful about something like ads is, I mean, I don't think anything is passive in our business, but there is such a more lean back element to it. And so I just wanted to name that because I think scaling smarter is the whole game, not harder, and that is what we're all after. But sometimes we don't realize how much we're fighting against that, especially if we have a mindset or a personality like me. And so, you know, sometimes what scales your business is leaning into the thing you've been resisting, or being open to trying something new, or being open to your past opinions and things being wrong. And overall, what I always think about with clients is how do we amplify what's already working versus starting from scratch or like trying something brand new. And I would really think about ads as this is something we're stacking and amplifying what's working, not a whole new thing. It's not the thing to do because nothing's working in my business, so let me go try ads. I would recommend any strategy to think of it more as how do I stack and amplify versus nothing's working here, let me go do something else. If nothing's working here, usually that means one of the things we were talking about earlier has an opportunity to be cleaned up, refined, iterated on. Okay. I hope that was helpful for you. What I will drop here in the notes, and I'll make sure we have it in the vault as well. If you're interested in learning ads, again, I get a small affiliate. I don't even know what it is. It's very negligible, so I'm not sharing this to make money at all. But I found the Successful Ads Club. I went through it. I've had quite a few clients go through it successfully. I think they do a really great job of keeping it simple, walking you through how to set them up, run them yourself, but also how to test and implement. And it's really affordable. So I'll drop that. If you use my affiliate link, the only reason I want to share that instead of just naming the program is it gives you, I think it's 2 free bonus one-on-one sessions. It might be 3, which I think is a no-brainer if that's something you're interested in. And more than that, if you're listening through this, because we talked about quite a few strategic elements that help a course like that, or any, you know, if you're working with an ads coach or anything like that work, if you want support, whether it's with your messaging and positioning, whether it is making sure your offer is juicy and yummy and something people want to pay for and that you're validating, whether it's building out that funnel, whether it's looking at your funnel and optimizing that and seeing if it's really converting, or what small, because it's usually small tweaks, what small tweaks to increase those conversion rates, anything like that, so that you have a well-oiled process. Or you're looking more at how do I bring in those conversions, or my sales calls aren't converting at the level I want, or how do I navigate those sales objections, or actually I have a lot of fucking brain trash coming up around this because I'm normal and human. That is what I support clients with. So I would love to support anyone who's looking for that. I am full with one-on-one clients, ongoing clients right now, but I am opening up strategy intensives over the summer. I have quite a few clients traveling for the holidays, so we have room for a few more of those. And a strategy intensive is great for any of this, and we can absolutely still talk the mindset side of things there. So I will drop a link for a free coaching consultation if that's something you are interested in. I would love to support you. Not to pat myself on the back, but I'm really good at what I do, and I've helped quite a few clients specifically with their ads funnels and to really optimize those to, I think all of them are getting below industry benchmark norms in terms of their cost per leads and really great conversion rates. All right, I love you all. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope it was also normalizing for you. If you have questions, drop them in the comments before Meta pulls this down. This will also be up in the vault. Bye, y'all.